And here we are. Hello,
Hello.
everyone. In a new
See,
style.
we only need to put AI in the title and we have a lot more traction. So today is about how to cook spaghetti carbonara with AI.
Exactly. And we need to have some kitchen examples, of course.
Of
So
course.
cooking spaghetti, right? Yeah. So
Spaghetti
I
code.
think
There we go.
spaghetti
That's it.
spaghetti
Spaghetti
code.
code.
Yeah. Let's do spaghetti code. Okay. I hope everyone is fine. So we have several people here today. Probably will be more later on. Um, that will be an hour of session today, not more. We will talk in, not only talking this time about, but really showing how it is to work with AI. Because many of you told me personally in private chats that, hey, I actually never used it. How is it? Thank you for sharing insights. And I was wondering myself a little bit, to be honest, because there is not much, let's say, there's not a big gap to actually just start to use it with a private project or side project to just test it out, even though your company might not yet have introduced it. Um, and you can have that in different variations, actually, quite a lot. And I think the most common one, which most people know, is probably using ChatGPT
Hmm.
or Copilot, which is so two different ways of actually using AI to help you getting to a specific code goal. Let's call it like
Hmm.
that. So you want to
Hmm.
do something, and the best as so the Copilot is more like the auto-completer version, while ChatGPT is more like your chatting partner. So
Yeah.
hey, can you help me? I have a question here. Maybe doing two suggestions at the same time, asking for maybe where is the mistake, or do I revalidate that for me, please? Those kind of things. Do you have experience with that, Dennis, so far?
Ooh, where to start? So I'm what you would call a disengaged early adopter. I tried ChatGPT from version 2. Um, And then at version 3, it was kind of meh. And now at version 4, it's really good. But I really got tired of just being experimented on. I take my craft very seriously. So if I am coding, I don't code a lot. When I am coding, I want it to be crisp. And I usually find myself sort of losing patience with what the AIs can do. I really like integration into my IDE. We're going to talk about
Mm-hmm.
JetBrains. So ChatGPT, I'm not a huge fan. Copilot, I'm not a huge fan. JetBrains is a little bit better,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So I
Cool.
want, yeah, I want context. I want context. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
understand my IDE. I wanted to have
Mm-hmm.
this feeling of if I ask it to refactor something, I wanted to tell me to use the refactoring tool and give it this and that instruction rather than trying to come up with a reasonably bad refactoring, for example. Um, yeah, that's one aspect. The other aspect is I usually turn it off when I'm doing stuff. And if I'm coaching somebody, a
Mm-hmm.
TDD or something similar, and my student, my business partner, if they're using AI normally, I leave it on for them so that we don't disrupt their process. What I found is that most people that do use, what is this called? Like IDE assisted LLMs, they don't have their hotkeys set up, and that really upsets me. So it's usually the first thing that we do. I'm a, I'm very strict on craft. If you're using an IDE, I expect you to not use your mouse. So if there's a hotkey for it, we better use the hotkey. So if you have to,
Sebastian, if you're
doors.
listening to that one, which I supposed to do because you have said hello, you heard what that guy just said with the hotkeys? Just saying.
Yeah, so I don't expect you to use NeoVim. Like Vim is the preferred, I don't use a mouse kind of typing workflow, right? So if you need to go 5 columns left and 2 lines down, you use your keyboard for that, and you have very good shortcuts for that in Vim and NeoVim editors. I'm not that strict, but I think that if we are using AIs, if it involves you alt tabbing ChatGPT that you have open in another window, that workflow is so disruptive that I would rather just not use anything at all. Like if it involves alt tabbing and copy pasting code, and oh my god, like that's not like let's not go there. Um, But sometimes the context window itself is so giant and there's so much explanation going on that they just open up another window for their live code review with Copilot. It's just as disruptive.
Hmm. But I wouldn't be interested in those workflows myself, to be honest, because I think I use it differently. And what I want to show today is different than that. So I like
What
to
is your
have
workflow?
actually very simple. I like to have a very smart autocompleter and have everything in line, my code, and not too much going on outside. And context for me is the files which are open are the context. That's a little bit like, this is what I learned. This is a tip I can give. The more files you have open, the more the Copilot does know. So I was thinking in the beginning that especially JetBrains AI does know everything about the project. It doesn't. It's only knowing what's open. And I learned that very late in the game. I hope they change it. I hope it every day, actually. But in reality, it's a little bit like it remembers, first of all, what you have done already together with that and what is open right now. And those kind of thing it tries to use. So your current open file, and I show some things around that in the next minutes as well.
See, we have a NeoVim user in chat. So Jordan, hello. Sebastian, hello. Yes, one of us. I don't use NeoVim often because it is disruptive in pairing. I pair a lot. I coach through pairing primarily. I don't do workshops, so if they see me use NeoVim, they freak out. So it's just something that I've come to learn to accept about.
I would quickly go to Isan's comment, how to remove the time wasted using AI sometimes, and then follow up. Yeah.
Go for it.
Surely there are some benefits in using it, but sometimes it just makes me confused. And after I return to legacy coding, that's good, or just using the old SO, I don't know.
Stack Overflow.
Stack Overflow. I even forgot that it exists, right? I realized why I wasted this time, right? And then the third thing is losing patience. That's it. That is a conversation between Himashu and Ehsan. Definitely sometimes it makes you so confused.
So I'm glad Ehsan, by the way, Ehsan is a new name. So thank you for, I think if it's your first time with us here today, thank you so much for joining. It's great to see the community grow. And it's great to see the AI topic that does bring in a few more new faces to the stream. This is one workflow that I've seen used recently. Mostly through like full stack or very pragmatic use, brave use. So not the kind of Copilot like a constraint use that has like a narrow context window, but like full project context window. I think only Cursor and Copilot, the enterprise Copilot version, allow that. And this is notably the usage, and I will wait for things to normalize on screen.
No, go ahead.
I'll slide us over to the other layout. There we go.
That was a little bit confusing, yeah. It shouldn't be there yet.
So what I've seen used a lot, and Ty talks about this a lot. Hey guys, I can't wait for you to generate 30 minutes of boilerplate and then fix it for two hours. The workflow that I've seen work very well is you do a full commit before you prompt the AI. So you have a clean workspace and you give it full context over the project. So it has to be an LLM that has full context over your entire workspace. And then you ask it to solve the problem. So you don't ask it to help you code, but you basically ask it, you prompt it to create a machine solution, a solution that would be unnatural for a human operator, and you give it access to all files, and it will basically give you, across multiple files, things that you can't brain parse, and hopefully you either have a test in a browser that you can visually test whether it has solved the problem, or a unit test of some kind, or an acceptance test of some kind. You run that, and then if it didn't solve the problem, you revert, and you change your prompt. So you give a git reset, and then you change your prompt. So it does this sort of very boilerplate heavy, full project access suggestion. And then if it doesn't solve the problem, you git reset and you start again. You don't do this incremental help me code thing, but instead you just tell it, hey, solve the problem for me. And then you try to give it enough context to solve the problem. And then if it's not solvable within 2 minutes, then you follow your normal human workflow. What I found very useful with AIs, and this is sometimes unintuitive, is that AIs help you be a better full stack engineer. So it is very helpful for you where you are the weakest. So I'm leaning towards architecture and backend. It helps me much more with front end than it does with backend. And it helps me much more with the CSS of the front end than it does with the JavaScript, the TypeScript of the front end. Right? So you need to understand your strengths. Yeah. And your backend's nightmare. And it's the same thing for somebody, for example, a front-end engineer who is not very keen on writing the adapters for GraphQL. Right? So you need to know where your strengths are, and if possible, pre-prompt the LLM to understand what your strengths are. To tell them, hey, I'm a backend engineer. I got that. Help me with front end. To even pre-prompt it before you ask it any question.
I would
if
you're
going to use it
something.
for assistance.
Because you have just said that full stack engineering. Using AI as a front-end engineer doesn't make you a back-end engineer. So when it comes to things like how to implement, let's say, sensible functionality like SQL or, I don't know, something, let's say, with a database or authentication, this AI isn't the key for you to just do it then. You should still have enough competency to determine if what the AI tells you is actually valid and secure or not.
Yeah.
So not that you just insert the very basic SQL injector things, which every backend developer should know, by default. The front-end engineers might not know that because they have maybe learned a year ago bootcamp with React, let's say, with a Tailwind and that kind of stuff, and they don't know how SQL works. So just because it helps you to accomplish something doesn't mean you should use it that way. That's something as a preamble here.
I wouldn't be so strict on that. If it does generate unsecure code, I would either lean towards, if a human generated it, would you be able to detect it? So is the only, let's say you're you're a solo, maybe it's a fresh team, or you're just a solopreneur or just a freelancer. If you're a front-end engineer, would you have this problem by default? And does the LLM make it worse? That would be my baseline, right? So are you capable of detecting security vulnerabilities?
You aren't. As a pure front-end developer who had never done back-end, you are not, so you should do that.
So the AI doesn't make it worse. The AI just may give you a false sense of confidence that it has solved the problem without your knowledge, where it actually hasn't. But if you know that you're not very good at security, I think you should have some checks in place to make sure that the code that you create is secure.
I think the problem is without AI, you don't do that. With AI, you could do that, and you shouldn't, and that's the problem.
So without AI, you don't write this unsecure code. With AI, you do write the unsecure code. But
exactly.
There. Like maybe you would have rolled out an unsecure plugin. Maybe you would have actually taken something from Stack on. Yeah, maybe you would have taken something from Stack Overflow, and it would be inherently unsecure, and you wouldn't be aware that the solution from Stack Overflow is just as unsecure, or even more so than the AI-assisted one. The problem is, even if the AI hallucinates.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, people copy-paste stupid stuff from Stack Overflow all the time.
So we should do that anyway. Not. So that was a a bad practice already in the past, that Stack Overflow was just blindly used, and many security issues, especially in the good old PHP world, where a lot of half-baked developers did full-stack developer jobs on real projects. That wasn't nice to see, and there was a lot of copy.
Individual level.
Yeah,
but that's a nice problem It's an important problem to keep in mind. Another problem that I'm seeing in engineering teams, so like a team-wide culture problem, I have a comment on screen. Hang on. I guess it makes it worse when it comes to compensating backend weakness with it. See, I have no evidence of this, right? So if you don't write the code, I think it's worse than writing it and it being insecure. Because at least if you write it and it's insecure, you can pen test it with somebody's help, but you can't do so with code that you didn't write. So as long as you're aware and you're competent and you're responsible, you can take it as a stepping stone. Like, it might be 1 out of 10 instead of 0 out of 10. But I wouldn't judge code that is not written for being a better security solution than using something that's they use an AI augmentation to help you sort of areas in your full stack capabilities where you're weakest.
Follow-up.
But I was talking about something else.
Statement.
Follow-up question. Okay. Exxon says many times solutions on Stack Overflow have comments from other people on security that ChatGPT just missed them. There's another follow-up. And Exxon continues. He says the problem is when you use Stack Overflow, you at least have a chance to look at them, but in ChatGPT you don't even have a chance. So this is what I would call operator bias. So you're correct in that there are humans on Stack Overflow, but your bias is not correct. See, you have no evidence that the answer on Stack Overflow wasn't AI generated, and you have no evidence that it was checked for security. So the problem is the same. I'm not saying it's better than Stack Overflow. What I'm saying, it's definitely not worse. Like, there is no guarantee that using AIs blindly and foolishly is worse. A team culture problem that I am seeing in companies is that more and more of their PRs are AI assisted, and the solutions from the AI, the LLMs, tends to be a little bit more verbose on number of lines, amount of boilerplate, naming, comments. If the team does have a human review process, then the more verbose AI-assisted code puts a higher burden on the human reviewer. So I've seen a Linear B. I've seen now initiatives from companies like Linear B and similar where they're aware of a lot of the PRs are now AI-assisted, and they're trying to detect which code changes are AI-assisted, trying to review it with an AI to train the AI review, right? So if a machine wrote it, a machine should review it, so that it can go back to the pipeline sooner, so that the risky code that can easily be scaled doesn't touch humans so often. Right? So the problem with an AI is that it can just generate 1 million lines of code very easily. So the risk of bombarding the human reviewer is enormous, right? So the risk is enormous.
This is the reason why I actually don't want to start with that type of approach to use AI, because that was the approach when we had first ChatGPT, and everyone was using ChatGPT to generate code like hell.
Copy pasta in, and it was just
exactly. So and that's a little bit of a problem. So what I personally like so much about Copilot and the JetBrains AI assistant, which is actually doing the very same thing in that moment, it is like it follows your current flow and your current ideas, which is already context. And I want to quickly show something today where you actually see that if the better you provide context in line in the code, you can even remove the context later, like with comments, or just use the comments as context. Then you actually can orchestrate and deregulate that way better than you actually do that outside of your IDE, where you need to describe everything you see. There's a lot of distance, a lot of connaissance between your actual coding environment and ChatGPT outside. So of course there is a form of OpenAI integration in two ways, like Copilot and the JetBrains AI assistant does have chat as well integrated in the IDE, but it's, for me, it seems to be a similar problem. And so which I personally like, if a developer wants to start developing, stay competent, do it as you doing it and use the AI first of all as a better assistant for you, as a better autocompleter, before you start to try to build a replacement for your actual doing and make you like a backseat developer, watching your IDE and giving prompts. Because this is the other extreme, and this will be a reality on some day in the future, of course. But these days, I think AI is a really very good tool to assist us to be more effective, to reduce the mental overload we have, the repetitiveness. We were going over a Zustand today, which is basically a library for React, going over some states and some filtering, some algorithms. And try to see how the AI just takes away this thinking for you, right? Because those little things added up in one day, the summation of that in 6 hours will give you 1 hour of productivity more than you actually had. This is what I personally think and what I personally see myself. Because I know where I can rely on things and know where AI is actually not reliable. Yeah, go ahead.
Small piece of logistics. I do have to jump off in a few minutes because I have an interview that I need to prepare for. Plus, I'm in Bucharest next week, so I'm on the How to conference on Wednesday and Thursday. If any one of our viewers is attending that conference or wants to meet up in Bucharest, do let me know. I will have a lot of spare time there next week, and I might even stream from there. That's it. Yeah, I think we can show the code. Another comment that I have, I see a lot of, so what comes up the most in coaching when I am pairing with somebody, one of the biggest offenders is they type something and they're using the inlet, the hover suggestion. They just give you one suggestion. It just gives you like a placeholder, like a shadow placeholder. That if you hit the tab, you accept it. I see a lot of engineers pause and read it. And I find it to be very disruptive. Because sometimes they know what to write, and they don't know how to scan it very quickly. So maybe their prompts are not pre-prompted to generate code that is easy to read. Right, so margin smaller than 80, not using too much indentation, trying to keep it very simple, trying to keep the prompt, so the inline prompt, trying to keep it to less than 3 lines. Because if it gives you like a full two level deep nested block of code, you'll be tempted to stop and read it, and that can be very disruptive in your normal flow. Whereas if you were just to write and accept the first level and then keep writing and accept the second level, you'll be much faster and we're working in smaller steps.
Exactly. So we will all become software prompter. Yeah, that's what you need to learn. Okay, but let's go then.
Let's jump to code. Yeah. Okay, you do the code. Strange. I'll fix the layout. I'll fix the layout.
We have a new streaming software. No, it's actually not. This is a major update, and it looks all a little bit different. It was a major update.
Is this okay? I mean, you will be solo in a moment, so I think this one will work really well. So I'll just move you over there.
Yeah.
And then the bubble is bigger than my head. Right? Because it's. I mean,
you need to be centered. You are not centered.
Yeah, I need to be more.
You need to have a developer. You have a developer problem. You need to fix and sit straight. Right? We all sit like that.
No, that's a camera problem. No, my camera is too high. My camera is focusing here on my forehead.
Okay, can you read it? Is it possible to read? I think so. Yeah, it looks like in the output of LinkedIn. Okay, what we see here is first of all a code base. I have prepared something for you, which is actually a very simple example. I've done that in a live code base we use just to have something running. I will use that more often in the future if that is interesting for you. And we have a test on the right-hand side with 2 test cases. We basically testing something there, which is about products. So we have demo products. Let me quickly show it. It's a very simple thing, very simplified down because this is not a big topic of today. It is more like how we want to get there. The idea is that we have a product interface. So we're using TypeScript here, by the way, in a React environment. We have an ID which is a string, for example, a UUID or something like that. We have a product name, a price, which is a number. In that case, it's an integer number, typical e-commerce system where you have the typical cents. So basically, it's 100 cent in that case, and you have an active Boolean. So there's no real functionality behind that. This is just for you as a common context for the next half an hour. And in the test, we want to actually have some very basic steps. So 2 steps, which we have. We want to add 3 products. We want to remove 1 product, and we expect 2 products to be there. And we expect a price between 1 and 999 cent. And the next test would be, which is currently offline because we only test the upper one, which is actually adding 5 products and making sure that we have a price range between 100 and 500. That's a very simple thing. Don't question the logic behind those tests. That maybe not real world scenarios.
We understand.
It's a demo.
It's a demo.
For today, it's a demo. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
for those of you who are interested in, this is a component test. So we're using Cypress mounted component tests as a kind of backend component test. So it's something between a unit test and an integration test that gives a very, very high level of control and predictability. If you want us to talk more about that, we have a very good conversation with Nick Shoemaker on this channel that you can check out into more detail about why and how we're setting it up and how we're using that. It's just we have it set up, and we always use this setup, and we have a video about the setup in our archives. Yeah, I do have to jump off now, so I'm gonna watch the recording to check out your suggestions. Is there anything else, any questions that you might have for me, or any idea that I can sprinkle to give
your last chance to ask Dennis? Forever. So fear of missing out, right? Do it now.
Feed your FOMO now.
Okay, anyway, you can reach out to Dennis on LinkedIn. Dennis Chahuk, no problem. Yes. Awesome. Okay, let's go ahead. So this is a
today. Ciao.
Ciao. This is a so I can't really spell that myself. It's a German word and I can't spell it. Zustand, right? So it's actually not Zustand because that is not a zoo. It's just a basically German word for state. And that is a library which is very common right now. So I would recommend to use it personally. I don't like Redux. I don't like recall anymore. So we basically removed recall because it's never left experimental phase. And Zustand seems to be extremely well integrated, extremely simple and powerful. And this is the reason why we chose it. And this is the reason why I use it here, because it's already there. So we have a demo state here. The state does have an interface. Currently, we just have products, which is this interface as an array. So this product type I just showed you here. We see it here as products. And we have a general setter function. And that's already something we should mention. So we have the set here as well, so we can basically utilize it in the real estate definition out there. And I will show you something in a second. And we have, of course, the component, which is currently a demo component. That is not that interesting today. I will go through it. I'll work a little bit with that and try to use as often as possible Copilot today to do that. I try to avoid any form of outside chat. I try to do that all inline today. This is the actual task for today I'm setting for myself. If you have any questions, if you have anything, just write it in the comments. I'll maybe make some stops, go over the comments, or in the end, I will take definitely some time to go over those. So we see here in the output, so we're using a basically, yeah, we could call it the test-driven development approach. So we have a test already, it fails. We have defined it, and we actually want to make it green with the help of Copilot. So I don't try to act dumb today. So I don't try to be just a prompter and getting things done. But I want to try out what happens if I try to manipulate the state of my current code base in order to make that more a context for the AI. So we just have 4 files open right now, which I still prefer. So only you have your files open you actually work on. And that is good for the AI as well, because you don't mix up things. It is what you're working on and you actually know what's going on there. So the first task which we want to accomplish is we want to be able to add 3 items. We want to be able to remove 1 item. And we want to have an expectation that there are just 2 items left, which is the logical result of that. So the first thing we need to do, so we have set up that already. We see that this component is rendering. That is actually the proof here. We see that component. We have in the test for this right now that it's actually rendering, but that's fine for now. And we want to have this click. So we need basically having a button which is called product add button. This is the testing ID. This is the way we test in Copilot. We have that probably here already down there. Exactly. I've written that a while ago, so I need to remember myself. This is the test ID. It will be generated by a dash button, and then we have it. So it is basically there already. It should be clicked in that moment, but nothing happens. We see it here. It was clicked 3 times, but the expectation wasn't met. So this is the scenario for now. And the reason for that is the button here, it's basically an abstracted button version we have. We have no functionality behind that. There's basically an empty anonymous function here. So how could we solve that? So there are many ways how we could solve that. Today, I want to solve that with the state. So I want to have it compact in a state just for demo purposes. So we don't can focus on that. So that is actually then the point where I start to work with AI. So AI doesn't do anything right now. So in my cursor, that's where AI is doing something. I could, for example, just type add product. Let's take a look what it's basically doing for me. It tells me to add a product, and it tells me I want to have a property called product with iDemo. For me, it sounds logical. It returns void. Well, we could have a Boolean for a success or something like that. But since it's a state, it's very unlikely that it fails at this moment. So for now, void is okay. So we take that. And the next step is we have it here as well. So without further ado, the AI is getting to the point that it tries to give me some functionality here. And it basically does a set here in this moment. So it basically gives that idea of how you can actually do that. And this is what I personally like, because it is very simplified. There are other versions I actually don't use, which provides you like a new overlay, which shows you the variations. But in reality, what the AI does in that moment is learn together with you. So this is my personalized model. It does know how I or others who I code with, because they work in the same code base like me, basically used to use this. So when I take a look at this code snippet and I implement the TypeScript and the lint this say, okay, it's fine, it's okay, it's working. So what do we have here? We have the product. It implemented it like the interface. It basically uses the setter, which we already have defined here. It uses the state. It adds to the product with a spreading operator the product, which is okay for now. It is not very effective, which means that if you would have loads of products and use this functionality for something different, like mass adding from an Excel file or something like that, then, and this is what I mean by competency, that is actually not enough. But the AI doesn't know about it. It takes a look for the most common thing we have done in that code base so far, and this is the end result, which I personally like. What I mean by that is, since that is a functionality which will be re-rendered, we could actually extract this and put that into a separated, let's say, function. You could use some memoization in that moment and try to improve the performance. But this was not my intention. So if I would need to do that, I could give like for the autocompleter more context about this function. But this is a bad example for this, because that is already out of the scope of the actual autocompleter. So the autocompleter is for everything which is in line next, or basically where your current pointer is, so cursor. And that's actually for that one. So if I want to jump out of that context, this is what Dennis was talking about a lot, is I ask basically the AI how to improve that code in general, so that it probably creates a function. We could now create a function here which would add that, and we basically utilize this function just for performance reasons, or test if the performance actually become better or not, those kind of things. But we stick today with the autocompleter, just one step after the other. And now we have that add product here, and now we can go to the actual component and say, give me the add product from the destructor of the state. And now we could basically say, hey, let's try what the AI does tell us here. And it basically adds us a basically fictional function, so a fictional product here. So what it doesn't do right now, and this is the next point, is it doesn't really think about code quality or standards you might have in a team. Because, again, this is an autocompleter, which means it doesn't autocomplete into this area here, right? Copilot doesn't do that in JetBrains. So if I want to have that done in my eyes correctly, so how we have submitted in our company, we would actually need to have something different. Let's revert that, and let's go back to that one. And it already says something, but here we have that as well. It suggests a functionality, which is a typical React way of doing things, with handle add product, which is correct, and then have add product and add a random, not a random name, a fixed name for this with a price, and does that actually. So I want to have it more precise. So I want to have that like now I provide context. This comment is what I'm writing now is not meant to stay. It is meant to be removed later on. This is just a temporary solution for me to, sometimes I even write to do, then I personally think the AI knows, oh, that's actually my to do. I'm not sure about this because I can't see into the AI, so doing that like this sometimes. So what I want to basically is basically handle add product, and I want to have with a random name from Faker, range, random price, like it even auto completes me my thing. Let's do it like this, between from 1 to 500, and what we want to do else shall be a use callback, because we are still in the version of React which needs callback. Callback. So let's take a look what it's doing now. It's still doing the same thing, and that is sometimes the little bit annoying thing, that I don't know why it doesn't actually do what you have done there, and that's a little bit annoying. Let's try to do it again with, no, that's not what I wanted to do. It is still doing the same. So let's do it a little differently. Let's do it ourselves. Handle and product, and use the short version of that one. Maybe it doesn't know in that moment what use callback is. So let's take a look if when this is imported now up there, if this does make a difference. It does. And this is one of those things which is actually interesting. We will see that in later stages as well. I already built in something which will have a problem when we want to get something out of the state as well. So actually, I said use callback. For me, it's clear what use callback is, but it isn't clear for the AI because use callback was never part of the current context. It should have, in my opinion, learned already that we have, I don't know how many use callbacks, use memos or whatever type of hooks we have, but it doesn't do that. So we need to understand that if we want to utilize Copilot or any form of other, let's say, helpers correctly, to understand either how to prompt them or how the context actually work. And that's one of those things. So let's take a look. It still doesn't do what we have actually told them because there is still no Faker inside that. So maybe we need to import Faker as well. I'm not really sure how it's called. Do I have a file where it's called? Yeah, we have. There. Let's take it like this, and let's take it. If it completes the name, it doesn't. So Okay. Now I helped a little bit, like giving the actual property, typed in faker, then it knew what to do. That's a little bit like, yeah, we need to learn that. And now we try to, if the we see that the price isn't where it should be, like we do it now a little bit more more precise in that area here, and say give price indication, and it does like that. Right, let's take a look if that works. So first of all, I removed that comment because I don't want to be that have that comment as a persistent thing. Where was I here? So let's have handle product here. We have no parameters. We don't have. Okay. Then let's take a look. Oh, look at that. We have now several products. All have 50, which is wrong. Why is that wrong? Why is there 50? Is it really? That's interesting. Shouldn't be like that, to be honest. Let me quick. Okay. My fault. Was there a comment? No, no one saw that. Ha ha ha. Right, so it wasn't mine. So what do we have? We have a product here, and we basically have a price. So I was not the only one, I hope. So we have now the random product. We have the delete buttons here, but they shouldn't do anything because we've never written a functionality for that. Hello there. And exactly, so we have those 3 products, and we actually have a green test now. So we have the expectations met. So just for testing purposes, the expectations here are, where are they? There. Okay, we have greater than 0 and less than 1000. And if we would change that now, just as a proof to 100, then we have a failed test because we have prices over 100 cents. Okay, I changed it back, so we should have a green test again. Good, that is, here, you see the prompt still. Of course, remove it. You don't want to have code with those kind of things because it really doesn't make sense. So let's add a nano ID here as well, which is basically a UUID. If you don't know that, it's our preferred package. I really love that one. It's very simple, very easy to use. No dependency as far as I remember. Actually, we can leave this active out, so ignore that for now. But what we have now actually is a working function for that one. So the first test is actually running. So we're going now to the... No, it's not running. Why is it actually functioning? Wait a second. At most 3. Okay, it shouldn't work actually. Have at most 3. Okay. Yeah. Let's time that a little bit. That was a mistake in the it was a probably should fail now. It doesn't. Just for testing purposes. Yeah, now it's failing. Okay. So I have that could be refined later on, but I don't like those weights. The weights are a little bit like I don't know. Yeah, but we actually have the problem that those things were actually, yeah, that was a kind of race conditional problem, and I mitigated that by having that because I want to focus on that one. Okay, now we have the next step, which is to remove a there it is. To remove that we actually only have 2 products. Right now we have 3 products here. So we need to have a remove function. We have no comments right now. Okay. So we do the same thing here as well, which is then remove product. Let's take a look. What if we don't do anything? It does says give me the product ID and I remove it. So let me quickly take a look. Have we that implemented? We have. Okay, so exactly. So we have the product ID, which does make sense. It's a string. It returns basically void right now. So in some contexts, we could have like return the new array or something like that. In that case, we just accept that it is like that. And let's take a look what the AI is doing now. I just go into the line where I expect it to happen, and let's take a look what actually happens here. And so it does give us the idea of, hey, provide us a product ID. We basically use the setter function, take the state, have products, and filter out or set the products by filtering out the actual ID. This does make sense. It's a simple way to do that. It's a simple way for others to understand that. And since we don't need to return anything because it's set inside the state, it should do its job. So actually, that was a good example how you can actually save some mental energy. As I said at the beginning, when you add that up as a, let's say, primary coder, and you do that for 5 to 6 or even more hours a day, that helps you quite a lot. And this is a very simple example. There are filter algorithms which are quite heavy to do. Of course, the problems and the misconceptions of the AI in those are bigger and larger. So you should do them step by step in small, let's say, you could say step by step. It does make sense, but let's keep it for now, and I already find that a little success in my opinion. Now we have that same game again. I have that function here. Let's take a look what happens. Nothing happens. So basically I give a little hint. I want to create a new const, and well, it does make sense that I'm in the context right now that I want to add that like this. So it basically adds just this line, which is sometimes a little annoying. Just press enter because it's an autocompleter. It tried to help you to type. So it is not like a ChatGPT version which generates the entire code for you. It suggests you to go one step after the other. So it asks us to provide an ID, to use remove product, which is the upper, provide that ID, and basically add the stuff for the hook there, the dependency array. So, and that actually looks decent. So I put that now here as well into that one. So we have the icon button. We basically say we want to have that here, and it auto completes with the product ID, which is correct. We having the product, we have the ID here, and that is actually something which should work. So let's take a look what happens now. Oh, test the screen again. We have the result of 2, which is correct. And we still have the last result here as well. So this first step is actually accomplished. So let's get quickly to the next test, which I can set by moving only to that one below that. And the next one will be, we want to add a price range. So we only create products or we only actually want to show products, let's say like this, which are in the price range of minimum 100 and maximum 500 cents in this case. And what we do is adding 5, that's a mistake. We're adding 5? Yeah, 5. We're adding 5 products, and we want to make sure that expect every price is in between 100 and 500. Let's take a look what happens if I remove that test and I would ask the AI to write it for me. Let's take a look if this test is accurate. And this is one of those points. If you write something like a test is in that moment something where you decide quality, where you define quality for others, for yourself, and for the project. This is a very responsible type of work which you're doing there. And I already have a mistake here. Hello? Okay. That one. Very responsible. So, make sure that what you define here is really accurate and working. So don't just believe in that. So never use the autocompleter as given. Just don't do like, oh, the AI is smarter than me. It probably knows. If the AI is smarter than you, if you give yourself enough time, you are not competent enough to do that job right now, and you need to learn. So let's be very honest about that. And I don't make, I don't have political correctness here right now. That is what I think about that. That's what I think about me. So I don't do specific things just because the AI maybe enable me to create some form of output. So please try to avoid that. So the AI is just a way to save mental energy, capacity, and just get things faster. But it should not be like, especially the autocompleter, it should not make you the developer you want to be. It should just basically help you to get to the results faster and easier by saving money, by money as well, right? But energy in that case. So take a look at what actually happens here. So we have a Cypress getter, which is basically the typical CSS selector here. We start with a caret equals, which means that every item which does have the attribute data test ID starts with product dash price dash. So probably there is an ID behind that, which is a UUID. So it basically have all those, and each of those, this is actually jQuery. If you remember that, Cypress uses jQuery because it's quite a good engine for searching in a DOM tree. And basically it takes the price as a float, which is, yeah, could be integer in that case as well, but let's take it as float. Basically the element text, so the inside of the of this part, and just expect it to be greater than 99 and exactly 99 and less than 501, which is this thing. So for me it's correct. So let's take a look what the test does. The test does correct. Great. But that was actually not how I wanted to implement this, because what we have done here is actually to create a little bit like that. So what we want to do now is to write, basically rewrite that functionality to create a form as a filter in the state itself. So I will show you what I mean by that is basically we're doing like, how do we want to call that? Products by price range. Okay, it does already know about that. So that's interesting that he was thinking ahead in this case. Min max is okay, so we want to have that. And we want to return iProductDemo as an array, which means that this is actually a getter function now, not a setter function. So we want to get something which is already filtered, and we don't need to create extra filters because we handle that already in the context of the state, which is a possible solution. So let's take a look what happens. So we get something like products by price range, min max, which is okay. Return get, and that actually that's exciting because that was what I not expecting right now. So but it does know about that somehow, probably learned it somehow, because in the last tests I had that it was not there, because the problem is it is actually missing here. And that is just a tip I want to give you. If it's not here and it does not know that, it won't get to the idea somehow, at least not right now with the current models, that this is how it should be done. Sometimes it's doing something very strange like this. This is the point that I can't 100% reproduce what I'm just saying right now. This is just my personal experience. Oftentimes you have something useless like this. This is, or it starts with some set thing, but it doesn't really complete it because you don't really want to set it. I had that already by writing in front of the name get. And this is the problem with what I mean by AI competency. You need to start to see that there is actually an advantage using it right now, even though it's for AI still very primitive. But it helps you if you know how. And that was actually quite interesting to see that it was actually helping me here to do to do something like that. So let's take a look what it does when I just complete it now. We have get products, and we want to filter, and we have built-in filter from to price. Looks good, right? So we have that one right now, and we now should be able to use it again here inside that one. So we have a new getter here, and what I actually want to do is, as you see, price range here is a optional parameter. So in the first test we had here, it wasn't there, so it should have been there, but it isn't, but here it is. So it basically takes the current products and displays in the first test. In the second one, I basically only want to have basically gotten products from the state which are already pre-filtered like this. This is just a demo use case, so please don't question it too much. So for that, I basically add a use memo and products to use, because time-wise I'm just skipping here a little bit. So what I want to have is here, and now I tell the AI I want to have product demo here, and first case is case 1, there is price range defined, return product within the range from that one. And case 2, let's take a look how it works out. Sure, you should come to the point as well. There is no price products, right? This is how we want to do that. And so we have that here. If price range is defined, which is okay, that's something which is missing. It is doing that right now, but price range isn't defined. So that was actually my mistake. And this is what the AI here can't do. I think the JetBrains assistant can do that. I need to take a look at that myself. But what I actually need to do right now is providing the actual property. So I have the property here. I have the name, the property min, property max. Correct. This is basically a form of bailout already. So it will end here in this case, if that is the case. And oh, that's interesting. It doesn't add anything here right now. I was expecting that, but I was seeing that the second case is down here. So it does return products, which was actually pretty decent. Don't forget to add those dependencies. Now I take this one and erase that one here. So I have basically a switch, if you like it, here with 2 cases. I could leave those inside right now, but in my opinion they are useless because it is easier to read it like that as a coder, in my opinion, because it's pretty readable. So what we should have here right now is a functional test. So we should have, let's take it like here, run it again, and it actually works. So what we have done right now is to build a very simple functionality, a test. So let's quickly take a look if the entire test is working. Yeah, it's working. Okay, right. So what we have actually built is we have built a very little component, a list component with a delete button, with an add button. We had a state which already incorporates a little bit of logic as well, filtering logic, setting logic, getting logic. And basically used to, in order to get that done, Copilot as a inline assist. As you see, every time I was actually giving more context or even start to type something, it understands better what I actually want. And this is the mindset we need to develop when we use such a thing. This is the reason why it's so different from using something like, for example, the AI assistant here, which is that? It looks different. It's interesting. That looks different. But you can, for example, take a part here and then that's why it's missing. Have they changed it? Is there an update? Quickly need to change. Okay. Was a license problem, sorry. I don't know, maybe the token was done. Okay, so we have that here. There's basically a ChatGPT prompt that I quickly can show it to you. It's a little bit like, let's assume we don't have this function, this function here again, and we want to have it like here in that moment, and don't do anything. So we reset that, and the test will fail now as well. And we quickly say to do handle add product, and then we can basically say that is what people often do, or we do from time to time as well. Is like new chat using selection, and then we have basically our entire code here and say out, please make the to do. And let's just take a look without any context or stuff like that, what this one is now generating for us. And that is one of the problems where I actually sometimes have a very bad feeling, that because it is actually recreating an entire function that is not a large function, or actually not a large component, but it is already hard for me to follow if there are any changes which are not supposed to be. Actually, the AI isn't really doing that, and I can't remember it accidentally doing, but I knew from other cases that it sometimes becomes creative where it shouldn't be. So I am a little bit like, we can use that, but let's take a look what happens here, right? So I can just take it into my IDE, and just take a look what actually happened here. So I already have a red arrow here, which is new product. So it does create something. Active is missing. Okay, simple thing. We can add a new product, should always be inactive. There is a comma missing. Default price. And this is one of those reasons. So I was not prompting at all. My prompt was a little bit lazy, to be honest. So what it's doing is basically it's using date now. That's a very simple version of creating a fake ID for the product. It just names the product, something like that. And what I do now is saying, okay, that's actually a good, but I just reprompt now and say I need a random price between 0 and 1000. I need a random name by a random product name by with faker. You can import it and use nano ID to create an ID. So you already see that for that amount of prompt I need to type in, I could just do it myself. It's probably the better way. But what I actually want to show you is how you would prompt it to get the right thing. So you can basically determine for yourself which way is better to do, in which context, which circumstance, in which situation. So let's actually take a look what it does for us. So same again, it basically creates the entire function in you, which it doesn't really help me with time right now. I need to wait until it's done, stuff like that, and I need to revalidate. This is the reason why early in the conversation, I wasn't the biggest fan. I only use that when this is really necessary. And again, because I said, what I said? Oh, a second, I forgot. Hello? Oh God. I need, okay. It basically, I didn't tell to go back to the first state. It doesn't remember what I actually created. So what I needed to have done is basically select it and do it again with the selection I have changed. And this is what I dislike as well. It's a little bit complex with the context. So it does have, again, the same problem here. We basically, yeah, that doesn't really helpful. Okay, we basically have that here. And let's take a look right now. We have a faker, we have nano ID, we have a random by that, and we open that. It basically does it the same way. Interestingly, it does it a little bit different than in forms of functionality, like Copilot was doing that, but it basically does the same thing. But if we compare that now to the way where I was just doing that in line, it was basically way faster doing that, or helping me that. But as you see, the AI is actually not capable. First of all, it's obviously not capable of substituting developers, just to make that clear again. It is actually necessary to have a developer who understands what we need to do, why we need to do, how we need to do it, and what the ways in between are. So as I said, we had the test here, which is actually telling us exactly what the goal is, at least for this demo, and we basically can or need to have a decent implementation. Though that as soon as the test is met, it's actually okay, because your test should cover that, that you are sure that your implementation is good, and you can improve implementations, as I said, performance rise, make it more readable. You can do those things kinda less readable, right? Like it is right now. And another aspect is as well, I love to use reading function names like products by price range. This is what the AI can read as well. This is what your colleagues can read as well. What I actually don't like is like products filtered or products to or something like that. You should avoid that. Try to be as precise as possible, not as short, as precise as possible, but not too long. So don't waffle and type a new story inside here. That is not what you want. So you don't need really to have a distinction between min and max if you don't have a second function which does the same. So maybe you can do that in a refactoring later. So regarding, I said actually 1 hour, we are 10 minutes above that, but let's have some time to go over questions and talk about feedback right now. First of all, I hope that helped you a little bit to understand how those things are actually working, right? So it was a very, very, very basic thing. You can do a lot more things. I personally use several other tools as well to do that. And my question for you as an audience would be, if you are interested in seeing more, or let's say more sophisticated versions where we're doing, let's say, more complicated code than just a very basic React example in that case. That would be an interesting thing for me to know. And then maybe it's just some questions here. So we have one question already. Isan asks, maybe there should be develop a TDD AI assistant. So what do you actually mean by that? Do you mean by that that when we take a look at this file, that it actually helps you to create the outline of a testing case? Is that what you mean? Because for those testing cases, you actually need to know the requirements. You need or should know the domain you're working with. Like, why do I do this? How do I name things? How things should be, or what are the limitations and boundaries? And this is, of course, feedable to the AI as context. You could do that, right? And then, yeah, but that's a good point. I would say yes, an AI for specifically that would help, but I'm still staying, at least for the next years probably, with a point that I think that we should incorporate some form of AI competency as an individual contributor or as a team in order to make sure that what was created there is actually what we need. Because what the AI is not doing, and there is actually a hard thing, is AI is not communicating with the client's customers. So I know that because I'm doing that very often, basically daily. So I'm doing not that much code lately, actually. I'm in conversations. I talk with people. I translate what business, clients and business and product needs, and the developers are actually doing, and try to get them as close as possible together and understand those things so that the developers then can implement tests which make sense to the clients themselves. And when the clients read the test case and they say, oh, that's actually a great thing, then it's good. And I think that the AI simply will have problems to fully do that, but it can assist you, like Copilot is doing that by coding, to actually write down the test. So maybe we can take a quick look into writing a new iteration. So let's quickly copy that one. Oh no, let's do it like this. So to do case 3, we want to have only test case for only showing active products between, I don't know, 100, 500 and something like that. So let's take a look what the AI is doing for us right now. Sometimes that's the weird thing. It starts with a comment itself. So it just can override it by typing the first lines of correct code. Then it starts to give you something like the same again. It never creates really too much at the same moment. So you need to do it like this 5 times. So it thinks it does. This is a good way to do that. Expect. Okay, this is actually a little bit annoying. At least it feels annoying for me, because this is something as well. I don't know if you see that. There's actually a bracket missing now. Now it was doing something very different. That's so. Okay, let's quickly finish it by, and then I explain why I don't like it. Where are we? Yeah. So we have that. So it does create add 5 products, and then it goes with something it already knows from above, and then it goes for active products, and it does like take a look for if something like this exists, and there is a span active to be true. The text active, expect active to be true. Okay, that's a problem. So what it does here already is product design. So it says that in the list there must be something like true written down in a span, which we never have created so far. And what I mean by that is that we basically with something like an inline autocompleter, we basically cannot do something correctly like this. So in my opinion, this I would write myself, to be honest. At least I would be very precise here down there in what I do right now. Or let's say having a larger text and maybe trying to do that with the AI assistant in that case, and really tell we need to have that, we will have that, and stuff like this. But, and this is one of those problems, especially when you do front end, people might know that there might be already a design existing. So you have a Figma file, and this is not really written down what happens there. So you would need to translate that into something the AI actually understands, that it must be something like that, because otherwise the AI is already defining what you need to implement. This is not what I like here. So I want to have a test, something which defines myself a test case, but not necessarily a description for implementation. But this is a personal thing from me. I think that is not the best way to do that. So in order that, I would remove the test because I didn't like what there was outputted. Okay, we have more context. Comment, sorry. I mean that I explicitly goes to the best, to the tests and codes. Human do the test, AI do the code. Okay. Okay. So, wait a second, there's another one before I forget something. Yeah, I agree with you on AI code should be reviewed by developers constantly. Okay, that's actually an interesting point to write down that here. So basically really put some time into the tests and basically write down those tests and expect the AI to write the left-hand side, let's say, right? Implement that. I think that is not possible right now because there are too many downsides for the AI. It's simply not capable enough, I think. Especially, so for just a function like that, if we would try that with several prompts, we may get to an output today, would not be the problem. But when I take a look at this solution here, with this is I think 170K log application, what we're seeing here right now, that is a little bit, no, I don't think it is possible right now to do that in any form here. Not right now, probably in the future, but then we're actually getting into the idea of low code and on some point in time no code actually, because the tests are actually then representations of acceptance criteria, I would say. So yes, it's a good idea because it is the idea of AI in the future and what people try to do, but in my honest opinion, I think it's not doable right now, and maybe we shouldn't focus or even trying that. Maybe we should if we are enthusiasts, but if we want to be productive and we really want to get our things done, then we should maybe stick with what I suggest is a better variant to do, to be the actual developer, to do something here, and to let the AI, complete that. So just products below price 200. I don't know. Let's quickly take a look if that does make sense. And what I was doing right now is I was giving that one a little bit more context, the naming of that. It basically filters out everything with the price. And what I do, I save this line of code. I need to take too much brain power to actually do that. Of course, this is nothing very special here right now that should be done or doable by every developer out there. Even junior developers should be able to do that. But if you need to do that, on some days, like, I don't know, you build a big dashboard table with a lot of custom filters, which doing like, you have 5 brackets of data and you want to combine those data, and then you have objects with nested arrays and those kind of things, then this becomes very helpful, to be honest. In a very simple example, this is good for a stream to show you that. Of course, that is a little bit like without AI, we would be fine as a software development industry to write down something like this. But the higher the let's say the complexity becomes, the more effective AI can help you if you are able to master it already on the smaller scale. Because if you start to use AI when you have big complex problems, but you don't know how to use it in such a context, I doubt that you will get a decent or constantly decent outputs of the AI for your complex problem, or you could even do things worse. I saw it already with junior developers who used AI, implemented something, complex algorithms, which were actually wrong. And there were no tests and stuff like this. And the AI just fantasized something together. And it was basically used even worse than on Stack Overflow. And that is what I personally think is we should use it as an extension for us and not as a substitution for us. Okay, so we have no more comments. So last chance for you to write some comments down. I will ask them. I will answer them. Yeah, that was actually an interesting thing to show that live. And I am a believer into AI as a nice tool at your tool belt. But you should know what competency means, and you should know what quality means. Quality is something you define before you do something, and you want to meet the quality. At best, you meet it. The second thing is a little bit of over-engineering, but never try to or get into the area of under-engineering. That is what quality is, and you should understand that before you start using AI, and you should understand things like context and try to write it for, let's say, younger developers, other developers who might not know the context as good as you, and writing down names like this, you can name it differently as well, but the idea is pretty clear that those are products below price 200. That is, everyone should understand who is capable of reading English should be able to understand that. And well, is it elegant? No, it's not. But it actually helps, right? And if you do that like this, the junior developer, as well as the senior developer, as well as the AI, will have a better time producing output like this, right? So, yeah, that's actually it. Okay, I hope that helped. There are no more comments, and I would wrap up for today. Thank you very much for listening, and whoosh, nice new circles there. Okay. Yeah, let me know in the comments if it was interesting for you. We can repeat that with other forms of techniques to use or leverage AI or to work in code bases like that. And I wish you a great day, a great evening. I will let you some elevator music right now. I invite you to read my blog, which is the Snackable CTO blog. You'll find it on my LinkedIn profile. Just click on subscribe to my newsletter and you will read about those things, and you will find the video there as well. I will upload it there. Okay, then have a nice evening and goodbye everyone. I will turn on some music if I find the buttons in the new version. There it is. So have a nice evening everyone. Goodbye.